We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Number 2, Cliven Bundy. He's wondering out loud, were black people, or to use his phrase, the Negroes, better off under slavery, better off as slaves than under government subsidy? No, I'm not making this up, and no, to the best of my knowledge, well, I can't say what Sean Hannity's saying. He's on the air the same time I am. He may well be saying, oops, I got trolled. This guy didn't pay his taxes. He said he bought the ranch in 1877. He bought it in 1948. He bought water rights only to the land. He's been, squatting on federal land for years and refusing to pay. The guy's a freeloader. He's a welfare. He's worse than Ronald Reagan's welfare queens. Is Hannity going to say I've been punked? Anyhow, here's what Cliven Bundy had to say.
The Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They just transferred it, that's all. Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
Betrays a shocking level of ignorance about what slavery was. As a slave, a man and woman couldn't even get married. Their children were the property of the slave owner. Children were not just frequently, but almost always sold away from their parents. Husbands and wives, or men and women, were split up. There was no family life under slavery. So it's like, another clueless white guy. But what I find really interesting about this is, everybody's gung-ho behind this guy until he mentions, as he said, I want to tell you about the Negroes. As soon as he mentions race, and then everybody runs in the other direction, at least all of the conservative politicians. But, the Republican senator from Nevada has now denounced him. So I wanted to ask Matthew Heimbach his thoughts on this. Matthew's been on our program before. He's a member of the Maryland League of the South and the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He founded the White Student Union, WSU, when he was a student at Towson University. And his Twitter is at Matthew Heimbach, Heimbach. Matthew, welcome back to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here, Tom. How you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm curious your thoughts, A, on what Mr. Bundy said, and B, on how Republican politicians are responding to it.
Well, first and foremost, in regards to slavery, slavery was an inhumane situation for both the black population and the middle and lower class white population, where it artificially depressed wages to keep whites poor, and of course it was stripping away the freedom of black folks who shouldn't have even been here in the first place. That this is an example of where capitalism destroys not only the families of non-whites, but of everyone, and that was involved. But the biggest problem I see here, kind of like you mentioned, is this is the same, you just used the word revolving door in the last story, the revolving door of when the GOP establishment tries to stand up for the GOP base. The New York Times had an article that just came out about how 90% of Southern whites vote Republican. Now, this is the biggest thing, and I agree actually with the liberal media who identifies the fundamental fact that Mr. Bundy's comments, while not historically accurate, do represent, I think, a large base of especially the Tea Party movement. Now, where you and I would disagree is that the base of the GOP being racially conscious, I would say that's a good thing, and you would say it's a bad thing. But I think we both are kind of seeing the same thing, that as happened at Ruby Ridge, where Randy Weaver was a white separatist. I have no problem with him being a white separatist, and I think that's a fine ideology. But where the Republicans come to bat for one of their own, so quote unquote, and as soon as they find out that they're actually think the way that most of their base does, they throw them under the bus.
In other words, as long as Randy Weaver was just simply being charged with selling a sawed-off shotgun to a federal agent, and the ATF was coming after him, he had the whole Republican establishment and all the conservatives on his side. As soon as he opened his mouth and started talking about separating the races, all of a sudden everybody just fled. Is that your point?
Well, exactly, and this is what happens all the time. I mean, I know for myself that when I was doing conservative activism, and my views, the language I used really didn't change that much. But when I first started college, I was getting invited to speak at all these different Republican events in the entire D.C. Metro Baltimore area, and it was great. But the thing is most of the people think the way we do, but when the establishment bosses who live in D.C. and have no connection to people who actually vote for them, when something politically incorrect happens, the Republicans flee. And that's why you look at why Mitt Romney, if he'd gotten the same amount of votes as John McCain did, he would have won the election. But white voters especially are feeling abandoned by the GOP on social issues, issues like immigration, and issues of race. So we're just not voting for the Republicans anymore. And still, even within that, 90% of Southern whites are voting Republican. So I just see this as the exact same thing that always happens. The GOP establishment tries to out-left the left, and it alienates their base. It doesn't win them any friends, and they turn on their own constituents.
Well, and Lee Atwater made this comment. In fact, we played a clip of it. I'm going to have to dig it out. You have it? Yeah, if you can find it. We'll have to do it after the break. But basically, he said, and this was back when he was working on the Reagan campaign. He said, 20 years ago we used to use, and he used the N-word, and we'd say N-word, N-word, N-word. He said, and then we discovered that you couldn't do that anymore, so we started talking about desegregation and things like that, which was code for that. He says, now all we got to do is say tax cuts. Everybody knows what we're talking about.
And I think that's 100% accurate, where the white voters are given a dog whistle to be able to see who they're,
right. But as soon as the dog whistler speaks the truth out loud, word for word, they're in trouble. Matthew, thank you for dropping by and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you, Tom. Have a good day.
You too.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
That's Matthew Heimbach. He is the founder of the White Student Union over at Towson University, and willing to speak his truth.